Okay, everyone, welcome back. This is episode 8 of Mark and.
Joe's baseball podcast.
Okay, you got that right today. Welcome back to episode 8. Last time around, if you remember, episode 7, Joe forgot his own name in the first segment, right? Yeah, enough about that. It is Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025, and we're here to talk everything. Holiday weekend coming up, July 4th. We'll talk about some of the traditions that people do on July 4th, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that and more coming up in a few later on today in today's video, which we'll talk about July 4th, and we might even talk about some baseball history as well that happened on July 2nd as well. I don't know a lot of things about July 2nd that happened, but we'll find something in baseball birthdays as well. So we have a lot of segments coming up, plus our teams of the month for the month of June. Now that June's over, and our picks for the week. It's been a long time since we've done picks. Our picks were like 3 weeks long, almost, because from our last picks, right?
Yeah.
We'll see how we did. I know your catcher, Colorado, who you picked. I think you picked him as your home run hitter. I think he did well for you. So we'll see. I think he might have more home runs than I did in the last 3 weeks. So we'll talk about that and more coming up in our picks of the week. Picks of the week and our picks recap from the last few weeks. So episode 8. Let's get going and have a fun day today. So we'll be back, talk more. And here on episode 8 of Mark and Joe's Baseball Podcast. So let's get started. Okay, everyone, welcome back. Here for our first segment of the day is our baseball birthdays. I'm doing baseball birthdays this week. Starting out with Dalton Varsho on July 2nd. After that, we have Caleb Ferguson. And then last but not least, our last baseball birthday we're going to go to is a player is an MLB Network analyst, Sean Casey, also born on July 2nd on July 2nd. Former Detroit Tigers, Cincinnati Red player, Sean Casey, who's on MLB Network, also born on July 2nd. So those are the 3 birthdays. Happy birthday to anyone who has a birthday July 2nd.
Yep,
July 2nd. My bad. I had messed up the word July 2nd and said segment instead, but who knows? I've not been drinking, so that's fine. So, happy birthday to anyone who has a birthday on July 2nd, once more. Okay, for now it's time for our baseball history segment for July 2nd, 2025, and with baseball history this week, here's Joe. Take it away.
So on July's hint, there's multiple baseball history, but this one I think was the coolest one. In 1947, Jackie Robinson debuted for the Brooklyn Dodgers, breaking caliber in Major League Baseball. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Jackie Robinson, fun player from number 42, is retired across the league.
Yeah.
Last player that wore 42 in a major league team was Mariano Rivera of the Yankees.
Yeah.
If you remember, the all-time saves leader for the Yankees.
But they all wear 42 on it. Jackie Robinson.
April 15th every year.
Yeah.
April 15th every year, Jackie Robinson Day. Fun day. I wonder why. Why did they do that? Why do you think Jackie Robinson Day is on April 15th? Why don't they just do it the day that he made his debut for the Dodgers on July 2nd?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
And then that movie about Jackie Robinson 42, that was a good movie.
I haven't seen that movie, but I have it on DVD. Someday, I think in a few weeks we should do our top 5 baseball movies for a segment. Wouldn't that be a fun segment? Yes, no?
Yeah.
I have at least 5 that I can give you. And I have at least a few lines from different movies I can give you. A few lines from different baseball movies I can tell you as well. One of them is a very fun one. I'm not sure where it's at in my top 5, but top 5 baseball movies, definitely going to have to do that one, I think. I might have to see a few. I might have to see one of them. I might have to see a new one, though, eventually, if I can find it on Amazon Prime or somewhere. So we'll see. Joe, thank you for baseball history. Okay, thanks. Okay, everyone, now that the month of June has come to an end here on this July 2nd day, on this Wednesday, it's time for our June teams of the month. We'll start with Joe with his 5 teams. Who do you have in your 5 teams of the month for the month of June, Joe?
Well, I'm somewhat backwards from number 5.
Start backwards. Okay, tell us.
You won't expect this team to be make the list, but
Okay.
they're starting to win more games.
Okay.
It's the Chicago White Sox.
Interesting. Chicago White Sox. I've not thought about that.
Well, they're starting to get hot.
Okay.
They're getting more hits and
Okay.
they're starting to get more runs
Interesting. Okay.
to
Next.
win more games. And next team, number 4, is the Tampa Bay Rays.
Tampa Bay Rays. Ooh, yeah. That might be something we have in common, maybe, but we'll have to wait and see.
And number 3,
Yeah.
the Houston Astros.
Interesting. So I wonder how similar our teams are going to be.
And then number 2,
Uh-huh.
Philadelphia Phillies.
Interesting.
Almost the Flyers.
Almost, yeah, I almost heard it. Almost said that. Yeah, almost said that.
And then the number 1 team
Yeah.
is the Dodgers.
Dodgers. Oh, yeah. I can see why the Dodgers are up there in our top 5 teams of the month. I can see why the Dodgers are in your top 5. But here, my thing is this. I think you have some teams that are similar to me, possibly, but that's something we're going to talk about here in a second. Because I'll go to my top 5 teams of the month. I'll start out number 5, by the way. Start number 5, a team that has come alive as of late. Being managed by a manager who's won 2 World Series titles. The Cincinnati Reds and Terry Francona, by the way. My number 5 team of the month. Here's the reason why I think this team is number 5 in the ranking, in my top 5 teams of the month, and starting at number 5. And I'll give you the answer on this. Cincinnati Reds for me. Why I have them at number 5 is this. Just a little back in early June, they were like under 500, if I am correct. And they have caught fire as of late, starting to win. Maybe competing for a wild card in the National League Central race. NL Central has come alive as this month in early June and throughout the month of June. And there's 3 teams that are now above 500 in that division. My number 4 team of the month, though, with the Reds sitting at 44 and 41, even though the Reds are 44 and 41. We're going to talk about the Reds a minute here. I'm going to continue this conversation with the Cincinnati Reds. Why did I have them at number 5? They're interesting to see. And I know we're going to be in Cincinnati early on in the month of August to see, but the Cincinnati Reds, you have to go back to May. Or back to June, I guess. If I can find them. Okay, here we are. Back on June 4th. The Reds were 30 and 33 on June 4th. They won 5 in a row to get to 35 and 33. And since then, they have spent at least... After they won 5 in a row, they have spent at least one day at 500 at least. When they were 35 and 35 on June 13th against the Tigers. Then they beat the Tigers' last 2 games. And since then, they were a game above. They were close to... They have fallen close a few times to being 500, but have not done that. So this is why the Reds are my number 5 team of the month. Next up, number 4 team of the month, the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, I can tell you this about the Brewers. They're a number of those teams. They're 47 and 37 in second place in the National League Central and right behind the Cubs at the moment. And you look at this. The Brewers were 16 and 9 in June. You have to go back to, I believe, you have to go back to May, I believe. You have to go to May, early May, when the Brewers were... okay, here's what their... Last time they were under 500, they were 27 and 20... No, okay, I was wrong about that. Last time the Brewers were under 500, they were 29 and 28 on May 28th. And since then, they've gotten above 500 and have 47 wins. So that's why they have the Brewers number 4. And similar about this... teams I have near this division. Following them, number 3, the Toronto Blue Jays, another team that in early June, they were under 500. And they've gotten above 500. They're now 3rd place in the division. Hard to believe the Blue Jays were down in 4th place, 5th place earlier this year. Just like another team, I'll explain why they're number 2 in a minute. But the Blue Jays, definitely one of those teams in my number 3 spot. And number 2, Tampa Bay Rays. Another team that was good, under 500. They're now a game and a half behind the Yankees, if I am correct, at the moment, going into today. Blue Jays play the Yankees this afternoon on the time we're recording this on July 1st. So by the time you see this video, the Blue Jays or Yankees, one of them is going to have a win. One of them is going to have a better record than the other by the time you see this video tomorrow morning. But the Rays, another one of those teams who was under 500 earlier this year and last place in the division, have called up to be above 500. And for my number 1 team for the month of June, I have to go with the team. I have to go with the team that I know people don't like. And I know some people, if you watch this, might call me out because this team, they cheated to win a World Series title. I'm talking about the Houston Astros, unfortunately. Houston Astros, they've turned into one of those teams. Earlier this year, they were fighting to stay above 500, but in June, they took off. They now have 50 wins. They won their 50th game, I believe, last night. But they're one of those teams that has taken off, and, the Astros, when they start winning, they can stay hot. Last year, they lost in the wild card round to the Tigers. So we'll see what happens in Houston. I think Houston, this could be one of their years. This might be their window of opportunity to win World Series titles. Could be closing. I thought it was closed after last year, after losing to the Tigers in the wild card round. But the Houston Astros, I think they're coming alive with some new group of players. So we'll see what happens in Houston the rest of the way. So here have it, our top 5 teams of the month. And I know we had some same teams in there, so...
Yeah.
Any thoughts on my top 5?
Comparing good teams.
Yeah. Okay. So that is our top 5 teams in the month for the month of June. Okay, everyone, now back here. It's time for our weekly picks. We're going to do our recap for the month of June. Since June 4th, we're going to go with Joe's picks. He picked Cade Horton as the pitcher from the Cubs, who had 4 starts, went 0-2 and 19.1 innings pitched. I picked Logan Webb of the Giants, who had 5 starts, 2-1 record, and 32.1 innings since June 4th. And I saw him win one of those games against the Guardians of Cleveland on June 19th. If you saw, I'll talk about that. I'll reference this, my other channel, Mark's Cards, Reviews, and Predictions. You could go there and watch those videos. I did the Giants starting lineup video, and I have the Giants win video out as well. I might put the link for those videos in the description of this video, so we'll see about that. And then for our hitters, Joe picked Cal Raleigh, who had 10 home runs since June 4th, which was 6 more home runs than when I picked him a few weeks ago. Well, that explains it. I was on vacation over the last few weeks, and we were a little busy. I was a little busy working, so that's why we don't have a lot of... that's why we only had 1 episode in the month of June. And my hitter I picked was Pete Alonso. He had 6 home runs since June 4th, so I had 4 less home runs than Joe did, but most home runs. So now it's time for the picks for this week through at least next Wednesday, the 8th of July. As we get into those picks, we'll start with Joe's picks. Your pitcher is
Joe Ryan.
And your hitter is
James Wood.
Okay, so you're picking a guy with your same name as you.
Yeah.
Joe is picking Joe Ryan, the Twins pitcher. So we'll see how that pick goes. And he's also picking James Wood. So go with the J names. Joe's sticking with the J names today. The J names.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just start a club for Joe's picks.
Maybe they
the J names.
Maybe
right?
it worked out for me.
Maybe at least a week till next Wednesday. We'll have to wait and see. And then my picks, I'm going to the Chicago Cubs this week for the whole week. For the Cubs, as you can see, I'm wearing a hat, my Iowa hat right here for Iowa fans out there, representing my picks for the week. From the Chicago Cubs, for my pitcher, I'm picking the Cubs ace. This guy's been the Cubs ace pitcher this year. Matthew Boyd, his first year with the Cubs, he's been pretty much the ace of the Cubs, this pitching staff, one of the staff aces. Since Justin Steele has went down with injury, Matthew Boyd has been the ace of the staff with the Cubs so far this year. And for my home run hitter, I'm going with the player, and I'm going to say this out. I'm going to make this prediction right here, which we might have to look back in November and see if I'm correct on this. Pete Crow Armstrong, otherwise known as PCA for the Cubs, is my home run hitter. I'm predicting this right now. He's going to be the MVP of the National League this year. And maybe Rookie of the Year, possibly. I don't know if he's still considered a rookie. But I'm making that prediction that he's going to win the MVP this year in the National League. He's hot.
Well, speaking of Pete Crow Armstrong,
Yeah.
I bought him like a mega box at Bowman one time,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I got his autograph when he was in the Mets.
Oh, nice.
And
Nice.
one of the cards.
Nice. Well, that's cool. Well, we'll see. I do think Pete Armstrong it could be MVP of the league. He's hit a lot of home runs this year. He hits almost every night, it seems like. So I think he's going to have the MVP. We'll look back at this in November and see if I'm correct on this. But there are picks for the week for July 2nd. Okay, for now it's time for our final segment of the day before we go. Hope you all enjoyed this episode here on July 2nd with the 4th of July coming up on Friday. Thoughts on the 4th of July, a lot of things going on. The hot dog eating contest this
Yep.
week. Also, some other fun stuff. Also, other things that happen around the 4th of July. Baseball, hot dogs, and apple pie in Chevrolet. You know the song? Yeah, it's a song. If you know what I'm talking about. Also, other things that happen around July 4th, and other things that's fun to watch, fireworks. Also, those of you who are tennis fans, by the way, I like to watch tennis a bit during the year. But my favorite tennis tournament to watch on TV, because I used to play tennis back in the day when I was younger, in middle school and early high school age. I took tennis lessons in the summer from the high school, from the Park District, I believe. And the tennis tournaments watching Wimbledon is going on right now. Started yesterday on June 30th. Yesterday, the day I'm recording this on July 1st here. Wimbledon tennis tournament in London. One of the best tennis tournaments to watch, besides the U.S. Open that happens in September in New York City. So that's a fun tennis tournament to watch. So I've watched some yesterday, and it's on for the next 2 weeks if you watch tennis. And Joe, don't you have something to add about baseball?
Yeah,
for 4th of July.
Well,
Kind of.
not really 4th of
Not
July.
really 4th of July. Okay.
So in the past, between our last episode,
Yeah. After June 4th.
I went to the King County Cougars with the independent baseball team by me.
Yeah. Yep.
So it was my birthday. I went to my birthday game, and I was on Facebook, and here it is.
They recognize you on Facebook a lot. Nice. Happy birthday. What's it say? Happy birthday.
It's the biggest Cougar fan's birthday.
That's cool. That's awesome. That's awesome to see. That's great to see. Getting recognized. It's unfortunate my birthday's
somebody-
in the winter.
I
Your
know-
story.
I know somebody got me that.
Yeah.
But anyways,
That's cool. That's awesome. Well, that's it for episode 8. Episode 9, we should have back here next week on Wednesday, July the 8th, I believe. Or is that July? No, July 9th, I believe that is. Wednesday the 9th, I believe that I am. I'm getting dates screwed up right now because I know. I'm getting dates right now. Okay, July 9th, Wednesday, July 9th. Next week, hopefully we're back with the second episode. I think we're going to have 4 episodes this month of July, hopefully. Maybe 3. We'll see how much we get done. But we should have at least 3 to 4 episodes this month. And we hope to see you next week in episode 9 on July 9th. Thanks for watching.
yeah, thank you guys.
You all know what to do. Bye for now. Hit the notification button below. And we'll see you in a week, hopefully. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.